Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Moore's Principium Est, Darkness Invisible, out September 26th on Perception. The album has 11 tracks, 54 minutes in length, and this is the band's 9th full-length studio album. They are a Finnish melodic death metal band. Now when it comes to the design of this record, this album is pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of deviations, there's not a lot of ebbs and flows. It's an album that stays very consistent, very compact, and almost on a linear line. This doesn't mean that the album is repetitive, boring, or that it loses itself as you progress down the line. The album still stays very engaging from beginning to end. There are enough nuances on a track-by-track basis to give this record a refreshed vibe, song in and song out, but it's definitely an album that doesn't stray off the beaten path. Now, as far as the overall sound on this record is concerned, the biggest surprise for me was how heavily influenced this album is by the overall symphonic elements and the orchestrations that the album carries, making this a lot more of a symphonic death metal album than your prototypical melodic death metal record. The impact of the orchestrations and symphonic elements are seen in every single song. In some tracks you're going to have a little bit more of them, in some tracks you're going to have a little bit less, but they're always there. The first and foremost in terms of impact, clear impact to the sound, is that it allows these songs to feel and sound bigger. This is a bigger sounding record with great production, I must say, great production behind it that allows that symphonic and orchestral elements to really take hold of the sound and give it almost a cinematic theatrical vibe, track in and track out. Obviously that increases the size of the tracks, but the clarity of the sound allows them to be heavy on one hand, but also be very open on the other. The other aspect of the orchestral symphonic elements is obviously the impact in the overall melody of the record. This album is super melodic, not just because of how the guitars sound, but definitely the influences of the symphonic elements add a lot more melody and add a lot more texture to that melody throughout the entire existence of this album. Last but not least, the impact of the orchestral side of the symphonic elements is seen also in the atmosphere of the tracks. Now, the atmosphere of the tracks tie into that overall theatrical aspect, that theatrical vibe that the album puts forward. But even in certain songs, you can see a little bit more brightness, and in certain songs, you can see a little bit more darkness coming through the sound, coming through the melodies, and that's definitely because of how those orchestral pieces impact the songs and help define the overall lyrical content of the tracks. Now, outside of those elements of the orchestral and symphonic elements, which to me was the biggest surprise on this record, considered how heavy imposed they are on the album, is how good the guitar sound is. The guitar sound, the guitar execution on this record is really well put together. A lot of the melody that you're going to find on this album has a little bit of its catalyst in that guitar sound and that great execution behind it. And not only are you going to get great guitar sound and great execution, you're going to get great solos on this album. That allows the tracks on its own to feel a little bit richer, to feel a little bit more complete, to offer a little bit more to the listener. Not allowing the tracks to start to stay a little bit one-dimensional or to feel like they're always flowing or following, not flowing necessarily, but following the same patterns. This record really introduces solos in key spots of songs in order for those tracks to blossom at the right time, adding the right energy, adding the right aroma, and once again exposing how good not only the guitar sound is, but the guitar execution is as well. The drums on this record are not overpowering. This is not an album that is going to use the drums to really overpower the senses. They add to the size, they definitely add to the heaviness of the tracks, and they help complement the back end of the sound really well, because the sound on this album with those melodic guitars and those symphonic elements at times feels very light. So the drums do a great job pairing up with the heavier sound of the guitars to really create a foundation, to create a strong foundation, so that these songs don't have just size, but they have depth and substance within it. Really important aspect, but the drums, because of that more controlled manner that they have, are not as noticeable in terms of what you walk away from this album feeling like, as you will as far as the guitars are concerned, or the symphonic elements goes. Now, as far as vocals, Ville is perfect on this record. I thought his vocal performance is super consistent, top to bottom. There are a few nuances here and there. There are some female vocals. There are some choirs. All of these elements work really well with the more symphonic side of the record. So even from that perspective, the overall vocal texture on this album is on key as far as what the album has in store for you from a soundscape standpoint. But Ville is really good on this album. He sounds phenomenal, super consistent, very well connected with the mood, the drive, the theatrical essence that the songs have, and I thought the lyrical content on the album was also really well put together in order to emphasize what the sound is already giving you. And when I start to look at all of these pieces, this is definitely an excellent record by Mors Principium Est. I think we have to go back to dawn of the Fifth Era to find an album as good overall, top to bottom, as this one is. And that to me is a huge surprise. I was expecting this record to be a solid record. I was not expecting the 9th album of the band to be this strong. This is a great record through and through. Now, as far as favorite songs goes, I want to start off with Venator. Very symphonic death metal style song from the get-go. The symphonic side of this track really adds that cinematic theatrical experience to the song. It has heavy drums, it has super melodic guitars, and those two things together create not only size but richness and texture, allowing the song to just feel very robust. It has amazing solo sections that really break the track, that add energy to the track, and the vocals are powerful and help the song move along. But it's definitely a melodic, theatrical, symphonic death metal song through and through. Then you have Beyond the Horizon, another really big sounding song, and that it's something that's very consistent on this album. I love the atmospheric essence that this song has, specifically coming out of those orchestral pieces. It has a lot of texture because of it. It's a song that also has a lot of heaviness. The heaviness on this track also adds size to the song, and here the guitars and drums really help, not just with the size, but with the heaviness. It's still a very melodic song, very driven, with phenomenal guitar work top to bottom. Last but definitely not least, In Sleep There Is Peace. This is a pedal to the metal, super driven song, but not driven in a fast riffing way, driven in a more melodic riffing way, and that is something that I've always seen from Mors Principium Est, and this song really feels connected with the roots of the band, bringing those two sides together, the melodic side and the fast side. It has a little bit more open moments in the chorus. The chorus definitely blossoms, and the verses are more contained, more driven, more direct. Great track, great vocals, great sound. Once again, amazing guitars. This track really feels a little bit more of a throwback track to the sound of the band compared to what the rest of the album is going to offer you. This is it. Mors Principium Est, Darkness Invisible, once again out September 26th. Hit me up in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.